It took 5,000 workers just under 3 years to build the place, which has now become one of South Africa's most famous tourist destinations. So this place is quite fantastic. I'd heard that it was amazing, but it is more amazing than I actually thought.
Something a little bit different, isn't it?
Isn't it just?
You're hard-pressed to find something like this anywhere else.
It's 400 miles from the nearest bit of sea, but that didn't put off the builders. They brought the sea to the desert in bucket loads. 850 million litres of water, complete with an artificial wave machine for the surfers. And then they built a pretend beach for everyone to play on. Mind you, it's not much good for buckets and spades and donkey rides, but it has other attractions. Not everything is artificial here. Despite being 2 hours from anywhere, they flock to Sun City from all over the world for sun, sin, and a flutter on the gaming tables. That's why it was built originally, a small oasis in South Africa in the days when gambling elsewhere was illegal. You know, sometimes life, as they say, the cliche expression is just a beach. And in my troubled life that I have, occasionally I end up in paradise. And here I am today in paradise. Anything could happen, volcanoes could erupt, waves could crash through, skydivers could fall in. My job is to try and cook some food. And it's a very simple dish, although it looks amazingly complicated. It's lobster, Chris. Have a look down here. A bit of crayfish. And we're going to assemble it with the wonderful things of Africa, like cashew nuts and pineapples and rice and onions and bean sprouts and asparagus and onions and tomato, chilies and all those kind of things. Very first thing is to fry a little bit of lobster. We'll just whack that into there and cook that. We'll turn up the heat on here. Scott, the wok's too hot. Turn off one of them for me. The first thing we do is throw in some lobster. Like that. We just let that brown a little bit. Then we throw in some chopped onions and some bean sprouts. Like that. Then we throw in a little bit of finely chopped, Chris, please. Very close up on that. Chili, ginger, garlic, all the usual oriental spices to make it rather spicy. Then we throw in some chopped asparagus. Like that. Then we throw in some rice. It's terribly simple because the whole essence of this kind of cooking is the preparation, the painful preparation that you do before you start. Everything chopped and prepared and stuff like that. Hold on, the lobsters are virtually cooked. We chuck in some pieces of chopped pineapple, like that. We throw in some cashew nuts. I hope you're getting some good cutaways of the elegant, beautiful bronze women. Oh, that's the waves coming now. As this gets boring, Chris, cut away to tanned, lithesome bodies of the wonderful ladies of South Africa. We'll take the lobster out because that's cooked. Scott, bring in some oil into this and put some more oil in. Just some oil in there, and fry me an egg, would you? We'll come round and fry the bleeding egg, I mean the flipping egg, sorry about that. Into this rice, which we'll turn down a little bit. We add a little bit of soy sauce, not too much, just a dash. We'll add a little bit of oyster sauce, not too much, just a dash. Scott's very good at frying the eggs. He was trained at Claridge's, and that's where they learn to cook eggs properly, in the good old-fashioned British hotels. While he's frying that, I'll chuck this rice mixture into this wonderful pastry case, like that. Claridge's, I did tell you, it came from Claridge's. Get the egg out. Thank you. On top of that, then we have some freshly sliced peppers, celery, carrots, very fresh little garnish to go on top of that. We have some wonderful tomato chutney, which is spicy and hot, like that. And finally, one of my favorite things, and back up to me, Chris, a thing you'll find a lot in South Africa is the use of fried onions. Because of the original Malay influence in South African cooking, in their brownies and all sorts of things, little crispy fried onion rings go on the top of that. Dear Hector, here even the rocks are man-made, and it cost a staggering $300 million. But for a couple of million tourists a year, it's paradise, I suppose. Whereas here, well, it's hardly paradise, is it? Do you know, it reminds me a bit of that strange holiday camp we stayed in at Norfolk. Do you remember? It's in townships like this one in Plettenberg that most black Africans spend their lives. Nobody knows how many, as the population keeps changing and new shacks are always being thrown together. It's a higgledy-piggledy ramshackle place, but I liked it. It had a great atmosphere, and soon I made some brilliant new chums.
Hi, how are you?
Hello,
nice
I'm
to
fine,
see you.
Thank you, and you?
Great stuff, excellent,
Okay.
thanks.
Welcome home.
Thanks a lot indeed.
Okay.
Brilliant. Where's the kitchen? So, I've been frying a few pieces of chicken in my lovely wok. It's my latest toy, this machine. I really like it. So I'm going to cook a very simple chicken stew. So, fried off all the bits of chicken in some oil, and then I'm going to add onions and garlic into my trusty wok. Just give them a little bit of a brown. A second or two. This is a most fascinating place, you know. The name of this village in English is Dangerous Bush. There's about 3,000 souls who live in these houses around here. There's no proper electricity, there's no running water, but for all of that, it's a jolly happy sort of setup. So, chicken and onions in there, some whole peppercorns go in next. Add a little bit of spice to it. Whole peppercorns, a sprinkling of salt. Walking around these townships, you know, Chris, is incredibly thirsty work, and you occasionally have to have a little slurp of beer, which is quite nice because that's exactly how I'm going to cook this chicken today, with some beer. Some beer, a couple of bay leaves, a few sprigs of parsley, some carrots and some potatoes. In fact, I think we could add a little drop more beer. Later on, I'm going to add, as that's cooked down a bit, I'm going to add some squash, some mushrooms, and some green beans. And a little bit still later on, I'm going to make the ubiquitous mealie meal with some cabbage and some cabbage stalks. But all that's later. In the meantime, I'm going to wander around and see my new neighbours, see how they're all getting on.
It's not exactly smart suburbia either. The shacks are just put up on any available bit of land, and modern facilities are very few and far between. But despite the poverty, there's a great community spirit, and there's still room for a bit of fun. Education may be pretty basic, but at least it's there. And these kids don't have to go down to the video shop every day to enjoy themselves. And there's not a computer game in sight.
Chicken cooked with squash and beans and mushrooms and potatoes and carrots and beer. Okay. Under the critical eye of my greatest chum, Onika. Let's hope all this fits in.
Okay.
I think it will, Onika. We're going to be okay here.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to be all right. Right, there's that bit. A little bit of garnish on there before I finish completely, which will be a little bit of parsley. And I might put a little bit of paprika over that, just to spice it up a little bit. There's the completed dish, Chris. In the meanwhile, where's my spoon? Keep losing things. Ever since you came along, I've gone to bits. You realise that, don't you? Right, oil in there, a bit of your aromat flavouring. Little shake or two, or a bit more?
More.
More?
Okay.
Okay.
Can put some salt in
And
it.
some salt. Excellent.
A pinch of salt.
A pinch of salt. Okay. And a little tiny bit more.
Yes.
And I'm going to put a little bit of
Cayenne pepper.
cayenne pepper in, just to make it a bit spicy. Not too much, just a little bit like that.
Can put more.
More? Oh, good.
This is not strong.
This is not strong. Oh, right. All through this country, I've been told off for making things too spicy. Oh, here we go. Mother's in charge. Everything's all right.
You can stir it.
And I can stir. Oh, right. I can stir it now. That's even better. Now,
Then you can put a little bit now, and then
Now,
use this one. This
with that one?
spoon, with a wooden spoon.
Okay, with a wooden spoon. How much shall I put in, my darling? Because I don't really know this.
Can you measure it with this cup?
Oh, right.
Then we will see how much can. Okay.
Okay, start with that. Well, you pour it in, you hum it, love, and I'll sing it, you know? There we are. Stir that. You always look so severe when you're giving cookery lessons. Why don't you ever smile? You're being so bossy, it's not fair.
Can I stir it?
Yeah, you do it. You're right, you do it. I've given up. I can't cope here. It's all throughout this series, one African woman can do what 12 film crew can't. It's amazing, isn't it?
That meal I cooked cost just a few rand, nothing to you and me, but even that is beyond the pockets of many of the people here. So everyone tries to help each other, and the youngsters and the unemployed at least get one hearty meal each day. Strange how school dinner ladies seem the same the world over, isn't it?
The chicken is very nice. But I've never experienced to eat an unskinned potato. But I will eat it now.
Okay. Well, we thought, and I believe, that when you leave the skin on the potato, it means that more of the nutrition is saved inside it, you know? So that's why I did it that way, because I saw this as a relatively simple but filling kind of meal with chicken and vegetables, not at all sophisticated. And I thought it'd be a good idea. Well, actually, I didn't think that at all. It was my assistant who said leave the potatoes on. Scott, you're fired! Monica, do you think I've got any chance as getting a job as a cook here in Plettenberg?
We've got the hotels there. They don't cater for our meals. They only cater for. I want to say that they don't cater this imifuno and others food. That is our traditional food.
Right.
They only cater their own food. Even the chefs are blacks, but they are doing the other people's food, not our own traditional food.
I think that this mealie meal with the spinach and stuff is absolutely fabulous. And I totally agree with you.
Yes.
I travel all over the world. And I have to stay in hotels where they're serving me, if I'm in Africa, they're serving me Italian food.
Yes.
If I'm in Egypt, they're serving me German food. I would much rather have the food of the region. I really would.
Thousands of people eke out an existence in the township and try to find work in the smart hotels and houses of Plettenberg itself, a seaside town of smart white buildings which only comes alive in the tourist season for about 1 month a year. I know Mr. Mandela has wonderful plans for the future of his rainbow nation, but there are so many stark contrasts here. Clearly, there's still a long way to go. South Africa is rich in natural resources, and there's always a good meal to be caught off its shores. Even the early Portuguese explorers were impressed at the amount of fish available along this bit of coast. And for a while, it was a favorite hunting ground for the whaling industry. But today, all that is out of favor, and the fishermen are after smaller prey. Squid. Not the giant beasts of Jules Verne's imagination, but the small succulent squid that appear on menus throughout the world as calamari or some such variation. I don't know what this chap's smoking, but it obviously helps with the ancient art of jigging for squid. I believe it's called ice cream, by the way. Anyway, squid fishing is normally done at night.
One of the dangers of filming in South Africa is what you do at night after the sunset and it gets dark. Well, the South Africans are so hospitable. They force all this wine and drink down you, and you can sometimes wake up in the morning feeling as rough as an old dog. And should you ever happen to have a hangover, like I had this morning, the best way to cure it is to hire a squid fishing boat for the morning around about 6 o'clock, come out for 3 or 4 hours in a stiff breeze and a light swell, and you feel absolutely terrific, I can assure you. Anyway, that is not to talk about my health, it's to talk about cooking squid. We've been catching it all morning. A bit of oil into the wok. This is going to be this is like a Chinese wok. It's absolutely wonderful. We'll zap in some onions very quickly. We'll zap in some squid. A weeny drop more oil. Switch on the afterburners. Splendid. In with the peppers. Hot over on fire. Turn over, we're on fire. Turn over, look, we're on fire. Get a bucket of water, somebody. Thank you very much. Great stuff. The boy stood on the burning deck, his face as bold as brass. But it doesn't really matter, it's not my ship, we'll get a new one. Thank you very much. Excellent, straight over that. Okay, let's carry on. That's great. Nothing serious. Brilliant stuff. Burn that'd be much better, wouldn't it? Hold on a sec. There we are. Okay, cooking sketch part 2 continued. So to recap, after you've put the fire out, you add some onions to your oil, some squid, some peppers, some sliced garlic, some green peppers, some tomato, a pinch of salt, a grind of pepper, and some chili, which you always carry in your pocket because it blows away otherwise. Don't need that anymore. A few little bits of chili. Make it a bit spicy. You know, people pay thousands of pounds to go on a holiday like this, and we do it for nothing. We get it for free. Tiny weeny drop of soy sauce. Steve, breakfast is ready. Sorry about your ship.
That's quite all right.
I really like
it tastes okay, it's fine.
Good man. Have a go at this. I forgot to put the spinach leaves in. Doesn't really matter. It's exactly the same process. Just at the last minute you chuck those in and stir them round. I forgot. Doesn't matter. Steve doesn't like spinach anyway. Well, those sailors generally do, don't they? Popeye eats a lot of spinach. Have a go at that, see what you think. It's a bit of chili and it's a bit spicy, but it's very simple and very fresh. Couldn't be fresher.
You can come back. No, you can sign on as a cook.
Great stuff.
And I will come back one day when I haven't got the hangover and the seas are calm. In the meantime, onward, ever onward. And I'm sure that train spotters amongst you could tell me the details about every nut and bolt on this fine iron horse. For me, though, it's just a jolly good way of exploring another bit of Africa.
This must be every boy and every man's dream, to be staying on the footplate of a real steam locomotive. And I have to do the obvious thing. I've got to cook eggs and bacons in the firebox. So let's see if I can do it. First of all, you have to put some oil on your frying pan. 2 rashers of bacon. Couple of eggs, and apparently all you do is that. Who needs restaurant cars? Who needs 5-star hotels when you can get a breakfast like that?
This is the Rovers Rail, which the owner assures me is the most luxurious train in the world. Years ago, this was how all the rich and elegant people explored the African bush. Steam safaris without any of the discomforts of actually traipsing through the place. Not a bit like the overnight sleeper to London. Everyone gets a room to themselves, complete with all mod cons, and the African countryside rolls gently past the window. But as the director keeps saying, I'm not here to enjoy myself. Humorous fellow.
This is one of my dreams come true. I always wanted to be a railway engine driver, failed the examination, but at long last I've got myself cooking in a train galley. And what a train this is too. Most of the coaches were built in about 1928 in Birmingham. The cooking car here, I think, was built in South Africa itself in about 1938. It's a wonderful, old, romantic, proper train. Anyway, I'm going to cook a very simple steak with mushrooms, onions, flaming brandy, a sort of steak sauce chasseur kind of thing. So already in the pan, I've got some onions crisp, finely chopped, just taking colour with some butter. Okay, now I'll add a few mushrooms, just a couple. Now you could use fresh mushrooms, back up to me please. You could use fresh mushrooms or wild mushrooms, any kind of chanterelles, you could put truffles in, any kind of mushroom is good in this very simple dish. So we let those cook away for a second. Then we add just a few little bits of diced tomato. Pop those in. Diced tomato, finely chopped onions, mushrooms. They're almost cooked now, so we'll add a little drop of jolly good South African wine. This stuff is called meerlust, and lust is something very close to our hearts sometimes. A drop of that in there. Now we let that wine reduce away so it flavours the mushrooms, the onions and the tomatoes. And so it does that more quickly, I'll transfer it onto the heat at the back, which has a bigger, stronger flame. And into that I'll add a little demi-glace, which is just veal or chicken or beef stock, thickened in the usual way. So a little bit of demi-glace into there like that. Then to enrich it even further, let's test it. Very good. A bit of pepper, I think, is needed. A little bit of pepper. A tiny weeny drop of tomato puree. Next thing we do, we just quickly cook our steaks. A little tiny bit of butter on each side into a very dry pan. I quite like to have this steak fairly rare, so we won't cook it for very long. Okay, we'll turn the steak over. That's absolutely splendid. Stand back a bit, Chris, if you will, please. I have a quick slurp. Iced apple juice, very refreshing in a kitchen where the temperature's approaching 48 degrees. Not to mention the temperature outside, which is pretty horrific. Anyway, my steaks are cooked. So another good thing they make here in South Africa is brandy, is cognac. So we'll flame the steaks very quickly. And that'll pull some meat juices out of them, which I'll mix with the juice and the sauce that I've got here. You see this juice in here, Chris? That's the lovely juice from the cognac and the meat. We join those together like that. Then quickly take out the meat before it, we don't want it to boil in that sauce, we just want to use the flavour of it. Pop the meat, the steak, onto a crouton. I've already fried some little chicken livers as a kind of a garnish, so we'll pop those around the side. Just fried in butter, flamed in cognac, that's all they were. A nice little bit of juice that comes out of them as well. And then I'll put my sort of chasseur sauce around it like that. Like so. Let me just tidy up the plate a fraction. Let me add a little sprig, a couple of little leaves of rosemary, fresh rosemary. And I think that's a really tasty little snack. By the way, the meat is ostrich.
And so, as the train rumbles on into the night, it's a quick change out of the working togs into something more suitable for the veneer and crystal glass surrounds of the dining car. Oh, to be an Edwardian now that Africa's here.
That's absolutely splendid, Olaf. Thank you. It's very strange. You find yourself on trains, you find yourself on boats, you find yourself on planes. And you know, at the end of the day, they all go to bed, or they sit in the back there just talking to themselves, playing Scrabble. And what do you do when you're on the road? You get a few bottles, you get some fruit, you get some stuff, and you make one last one for the road. I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I want to try to encapsulate, if I can, the kind of spirit of South Africa. So what I thought I would do, I thought I'd pour some brandy into a jug. And there's only me and you and the camera, so we can drink ourselves, and it's not me, it's the piano that's been drinking. I thought we'd throw some of the brandy in. I thought we'd throw some strawberries in. I thought we might take a handful of ice. And why not? I thought we might put some cane sugar in. And then I thought we might take this strange device which looks like an outboard motor, and other of you with different persuasions might think of other things. It's just strawberries, ice, sugar, and me, and you. Then I thought we'd probably pour what is effectively a strawberry daiquiri into the bottom of this moving glass, because the train too is moving. And then maybe we would put some double cream, or actually it's single cream, maybe this strange bottle of strawberry cream into there too, because it's a kind of an alcoholic milkshake for lonely people late at night on trains which have come from nowhere and appear to arrive nowhere. You maybe put another couple of strawberries into that one, maybe just a dash of Angostura bitters, because there's always a bitter slice to every kind of life. And then on top of this iced brandy, strawberry-flavored alcohol, with any luck, we just float some strawberry cream across the top. And we might think, on a night like tonight, of pink ladies and the blues. Africa, I love you. I tell you what, Jesus Christ, that's a fine drink.